What nuts? It is Thursday, March 7th, U.S., the day before the U.S. Trade Deadline. It's What Chaos presented by Prize Picks. I'm David Bean. You can call me DJ. That's Peter Blackburn. You can call him Young Peter Gretzky, Peterka, Sean DePaz in the damn house. And this is the final show before we do our final show, because the show after this is the one where we die. You ready?
I am. I had the thought last night that I'm a little bit concerned, was concerned last night about how tired I was after yesterday and heading into today.
Brother, exact same.
Yeah.
I went to Dune 2 famously yesterday. Everyone's talking about it. And going into the movie, I was like, I need that. I've been covering an entire playoff series cup of coffee that is only going to do like 10% of help for me because I'm so drained and so burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
I still had a fucking long ass movie and then a 24-hour trade deadline stream ahead of me. And something that you got to remember with a 24-hour deadline stream that I did not consider until yesterday.
Yeah.
It's not that we're staying up for 24 hours. It's that we're staying up from when we awoke this morning.
Yeah.
Which for me, US 7:45 a.m. until tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. And it's not like we just go to sleep right then. Sleeping makes us feel good, but we're not going to do it.
We're probably we're probably looking at 36 hours straight awake.
And another big thing is that we aren't listening on headphones as we do this. We're just talking into the mics, so we're talking and yelling at normal volumes. We're going to need to put ourselves on vocal rest. If we had headphones on, it would be a lot easier to do because we'd be able to save our voices. We hear ourselves louder. We could speak softer, and everything can be made up on the audio chain.
Really what's happening right now is we're burying the lead because the lead is that yesterday was fucking crazy. And that was why I was mainly exhausted, just kind of trying to wrap my brain around 1,000 moving parts all day long. There was a million trades yesterday, a few blockbusters, a lot of big names that came off the board ahead of the 24-hour stream. So really it was like trying to wrap my head around the stuff that happened yesterday and being concerned about how tired I was, and also being concerned about a lot of the big pieces already falling before the stream started. But yesterday was a crazy day in hockey. We got a bunch of trades to talk about, and that's always exciting.
I'm not worried about nothing's going to happen. There's nothing going on. If you're doing a 24-hour trade deadline stream, you're going to have to be killing a bunch of time anyway. So
of course.
I'm not worried about that. Tons of moves did go down. We could talk about the Golden Knights and all the shit they've done without even bringing up that 2 days ago they got Anthony Mantha.
Yeah.
Like, they are doing it. They're going for it the way they always go for it. They are, fuck them draft picks. Fuck that 2025 draft pick. We're just going to trade it twice anyway. Doesn't matter. They get Noah Hanifin, possibly the biggest of the big fish that could move around this deadline. Vegas, of course, gets him. You look at the deal right there. They get Hanifin from the Flames. They send out a first-round pick in 2025 that can become a 2026 first-round pick if they end up trading this 2025 pick in another deal. Philadelphia eats a little money in the deal, and you see all the details there. But the big thing is Vegas, after already adding a big wing, adds the top defenseman on the market.
Yeah, and it's Vegas, man. I respect the way that they operate. They find guys that they want, and they go out and get them regardless of what it takes. They're the most aggressive team in front office in hockey. I do respect that. But at some point, I was thinking about this last night. At some point, my brain like asked the question, does Vegas even want these guys? Do they even want all these players? Or do they just want to take people away from the rest of the league? Do they want to just like play spoiler and say, you know what? We're going to go get this guy because we can, and there's nothing you can fucking do about it. That's what the energy that Vegas has when it comes to acquiring some of these players.
Yeah, look, like Stone, I know that it's been said he's maybe going to miss a little bit of the first round too, but they are so loaded for Bear. And even though they're a wild card team right now, it should be noted.
Yeah.
We're going to have Chris Johnston join us in just a few minutes. One of the things I'm going to ask him is like, if you're in the Pacific, do you just want to drop out of it right now? Like, do you want
into the wild card?
Yeah. Like, do you want to fucking play the Canucks or the Golden Knights and I know that the way I'm positioning right now, I'm specifically talking about the Kings, but I'm not, like, because the Kings could be a tough team in the playoffs. We've talked about them being an easy candidate to upset their series early in the playoffs. But Golden Knights load up. Oilers, we haven't even mentioned yet, get at Adam Henrique.
Mm-hmm.
When all is said and done, he could be one of the best forwards that's moved at this deadline. And now they are just absolutely loaded, not only in their top 6, but kind of in their top 9. Vegas, don't give a fuck. They're going for it every year. You know that. Oilers saying, shit, yeah, first-time NHL coach, doesn't matter. This has to be the year. We're going to go for it. We'll see if they're done. We can ask Chris about that. And
Ken Holland said yesterday that he wants to get a defenseman.
And Bob Stauffer has been saying for a while they're going to chip away at forwards and then just like add what they can on the back end as far as depth defensemen. We saw Joel Edmondson get moved for way more than I thought he would command. A third and a fifth.
Yeah,
that to me, that I'm like,
Joel Edmondson's like a 6th or 7th defenseman.
7th defense, yeah, like 5th round pick for him.
That's a lot.
The Leafs, I was joking before the show, the Leafs have been one of the quiet teams at the trade deadline, but their picks keep going away. Like, they haven't gotten a guy, but their picks keep going away.
They're like, they're big on just like defensemen that don't move the needle. It's like, okay, you need to improve defensively. They say, okay, we'll get some defensemen. Okay, but what about the good defensemen? They're getting guys that don't really change the picture. They just add more bodies to their roster.
Yeah, and we haven't really even talked much about the Atlantic. We got a crazy slate tonight. So we're going to be doing a 24-hour stream, of course. It begins at 5:30. I don't think we gave the details on that on this show, but I think we said it yesterday. 5:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. There's a million games tonight. There's 12 games. All of them are at the same time, basically. Like, they're all at 7, which is annoying. But we'll be watching those games, so it'll be kind of like a watch-along for a little bit while trades may or may not be going down.
It seems very flipped, right? Like, yesterday should have been the day where there was a bunch of games, and then tonight should be the night where there's like 3 games on the schedule, 2 or 3 games, because the Colorado's GM was on their broadcast last night, and big day for Colorado. A couple of trades for them. We haven't even talked about those, but he was saying like he thinks that a big reason why a lot of the work was done yesterday was because teams didn't have games that day, so they could get guys in and move them out and set the lineups for tomorrow. And we see Vladimir Tarasenko is in the lineup for Florida tonight, playing with who? We said Barkov and Reinhart?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, man, that's going to rock so much. Tarasenko with Barkov and Reinhart could be incredible. But, yeah, that makes sense. You would think that like they'd move the light slate to a Thursday night.
Yeah, we're going to be monitoring Twitter as much as we can, and X and Snapchat and all those things. If you see anything, you could throw it in the chat as well. Don't Adon Schefter us, because even before we get on the 24-hour stream, we are very susceptible, I would say, to being tricked, because our guard is down and we're all tired before we even begin this stream.
Of course.
But very excited now to welcome in insider extraordinaire from The Athletic and so many other places, Chris Johnston. How are you, my friend? What a hat.
Thanks, man.
Cool
What
hat.
are the parameters of this 24-hour stream? Like, is there any sleep, or like, how is it going to work?
Rules are there are no rules. We fuck around.
I think that it's pretty cowardly to sleep during a 24-hour stream. I say that now, but if I do it, it's not cowardly. It's necessary. But other than
Self-care.
that, like, no real rules.
Like, I feel like absolute shit right now. And just because of this week, obviously lots of stuff happening at night and up in the morning. Like, I could not stay up 24 hours till tomorrow's deadline.
Well, I can guarantee that you've been a little bit busier than we have for most of this week leading up to today. I did want to ask you, I think Elliot said yesterday that his screen time in this week is like 17 hours. What does yours look like in comparison?
I want to see receipts from that. I'm calling bullshit on Elliot's time. It's funny because one of my colleagues at TSN for Bar Down wants to put it out there. So I had to look it up, and I was at 11 hours yesterday.
Okay.
I have never turned on the screen time like monitoring thing. That's always been off for me because I'd be horrified by it.
It is horrifying.
What do you know? What do you say right now? I mean, it seems like all the guys have already been traded, but not really. There's still a lot of guys out there. Tyler Toffoli, we don't know if anything will happen there. There's bonkers hypotheticals involving Jake Gensel and Elias Lindholm. But what are you hearing right now?
Yeah, I think Gensel's probably the most interesting thing, right in front of us, just because, I do think there's a good chance that trade goes down today. And because there's a lot of teams involved, it could end up being a 3-team deal if the Lindholm Boston thing comes through. If that doesn't happen, I mean, there's also kind of the dominoes that would trickle down because only one of the 5 or 6 teams that are in on Gensel can get him. And I think that opens up more of a market for Toffoli and the other forwards down the way. So, I think Gensel's probably the big focus, at least in this friggin' 2 minutes. It's what's on my mind. But, in a couple hours, maybe something else will be burning.
Yeah, the Gensel 3-team thing that was thrown out there yesterday, which was Gensel to Vancouver, Lindholm to Boston, Jake DeBrusk to Pittsburgh as sort of like the pillars of that potential deal. In my mind, like, what would it take for the Bruins to make that deal happen? Because in my mind, like, giving Jake DeBrusk up as the pillar there
Not enough.
seems like an absolute steal for Boston.
Yeah, I think that's obviously an incomplete version of what's been discussed. My understanding is that there were discussions about Lindholm from Vancouver to Boston for a first-round pick, which would then be parlayed as part of the Gensel to Vancouver aspect of it. But I mean, there's obviously going to be a lot more in it. The one thing that makes sense about DeBrusk potentially ending up in Pittsburgh is the Penguins aren't looking to burn this thing to the ground, right? I mean, they actually are looking for players that can help, even though they are trading away someone like Jake Gensel, who just doesn't fit with the profile, the kind of contract he needs, as a pending unrestricted free agent. And so I do think it makes sense that Pittsburgh would be trying to get futures, but also presence in this deal. But I think what's out there is definitely a version of what's discussed, but I've heard all kinds of variations of this thing. There's also, I would say, one thing I've heard more this morning than prior is it does seem there is some renewed interest around Linus Ullmark potentially. And obviously that's significant because it does, for the Bruins to be adding anything, they're going to have to be subtracting some cap commitments as well. And so I don't know if you make both of those moves if you're Boston, if you're taking Ullmark and DeBrusk off, or if they're two variations of what might happen for them to maybe address that center ice position. But there's definitely a lot of moving pieces to this, and there's real smoke there. I mean, I know there have been considerable talks for Lindholm to end up in Boston, and he was obviously a target back when he went from Calgary to Vancouver at the end of January. And there just aren't a lot of centers in this market. I mean, you've already seen Henrique go to Edmonton, and as much as I enjoy putting the trade board together, and I want everyone to encourage you to go look at it, I can tell you the quick notes here is that there's just not a lot of quality centers available. And so if Boston is going to upgrade there, Lindholm probably makes the most sense.
You mentioned Ullmark. Are you surprised that there hasn't been much movement or any movement in the goalie market? I feel like we've been waiting since November for the first domino to fall in the goalie market.
Unless I'm forgetting something, I think Spencer Martin is the only goalie to move this year, and he was claimed twice on waivers, first Columbus and then Carolina. We've had other sort of name goaltenders, obviously most of them struggling, pass through waivers unclaimed. You've had anyone from Jake Allen, UC Saros, John Gibson, Jacob Markstrom, names that have been out there as potential trade targets. Nothing's happened. I can't figure out what the hell's going on with goaltending in this league. All I know is that a number of the contending teams aren't fully comfortable with their goaltending situations, but I do think that they're looking at a lot of the players available, and they're just either not going to pay the price for some of the top names available there, or they're just not sure about what they're getting in someone like a Jake Allen, if it's a true upgrade on what they have. I know there's concerns with him specifically too, because he's signed next year, and some teams, don't want, another goaltender under contract. So this goalie market has been weird, but I do maintain that I think we're going to see at least a trade or two involving a goalie. I think that, there's New Jersey is still very much looking to address that position by tomorrow's deadline. Colorado's been making calls. I wonder what Carolina does. I just think we have to see some kind of goaltender move by this deadline.
I feel like goaltenders have just become running backs, where if like teams have good ones, they're psyched that they have them, but they're not going to go out and they're going to pay some kind of premium because they've looked around in recent years, whether it's the Pittsburghs of the world, whether it's Vegas last year with Aiden Hill, or whether the Blues a few years ago. They're like, you can win a cup with the holy shit, where did that guy come from goalie. We mentioned Edmonton. They added Henrique. Do you think that they are done? Because based on some of the things they have done, it looks like they could have the dough, if money's retained, to add more.
I don't think they're done. I think they'd like to address their blue line still. And they have players on their roster that I think if pressed, they would move off too, in terms of trying to create that cap room. Guys like Warren Fogle, Cody Ceci, Brett Kulak. I think that if Edmonton could get the right deal, those are the types of players they would subtract from this roster in order to make the cap dollars work. So, I think they feel very good that they got a jump, in a sense, on Friday's market by making that trade with the Ducks on Wednesday, because it's given them time here to try to get more done. And the stakes on this season, I mean, every team that has a chance to win, every year feels big, but, in Edmonton, it's particularly big, right? They've got Leon Draisaitl for just one more year beyond this one under contract, Connor McDavid 2 years after this one. What that means is they have less of a guaranteed window than they'd like, I'm sure, with those two players as the cornerstone of their team. And really, if you look at the underlying performance of the Oilers this season, they look like, just by the fancy stats, the best team in the league, even though I realize they're lagging in the standings after that slow start they had to the year. So I think that there's all kinds of internal pressure there to make sure that they give themselves the best chance at a playoff run. And so I would think that you're going to see Ken Holland make at least one more deal before the deadline.
Is there a particular team that you look at right now that I know we've got a little bit of time to the deadline, but it's a particular team that you've seen been quiet and say, like, they're facing a lot of pressure to get better before Friday at 3 p.m.?
The first one that comes to mind is Boston. I do think that, and obviously there's limitations there, as we mentioned earlier. So I wonder what the Bruins end up doing this year. The Rangers made the Wenberg deal, but I certainly don't think they're done. I don't know if it's pressure. I mean, although when you work for Jim Dolan, there's probably pressure every day, both on the Knicks and Rangers side of the equation. I think I wonder what Colorado is going to do. I mean, they had a big set of trades yesterday and kind of a unique deal with that Byram Mittelstadt deal, but something tells me they're not fully done here. And then we got the Death Star out in Vegas that they don't feel that they have to do anything, but they've left themselves the cap room and certainly the first round pick capital to be able to still make another huge splash here. So I think that those are the teams that jump to mind. There's a lot of others that I think would like to be more active, but either just don't have the assets to get it done, or they don't see a cap path for them to be more active here. But we've got enough teams that I think in what's kind of been a soft sellers marketplace, I'd say so far. Like, we haven't seen too many deals where you're like, holy shit, they got this for him. I mean, usually if we're saying that, it's because they got so little for the player. And so I think it's a bit of a buyer's market so far. And I think we're going to see some of the top teams who are looking around and going like, okay, we're one of 10 teams that can win the cup this year. We got to give ourselves every chance to do it.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to ask just like why it feels like that. All we talked about was no one has any cap space. If you are able to add anything, you're going to have to give up an absolute shit ton, but it has kind of felt like it's been a buyer's market. I want to ask about two forwards. One, dear friend of the podcast, Frank Vetrano, seems like he's kind of played himself into the Ducks having to keep him because he's got another year on his deal. Do you feel he stays in Anaheim? And also Pavel Buchnevich. What are you hearing on him?
Yeah, I think there's a good chance both players remain where they are just because there are other forwards available or wingers available specifically who score goals, who, the price might be a little lower on. I'm thinking of a Tyler Toffoli. I mean, if we had done this 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have thought that Toffoli would be a name that would be moving at this deadline. Obviously, the Devils have lost a lot of games between then and now. They've fired a head coach. They've had this trade discussions contract discussions with his agent, and they haven't gone anywhere. And so, I think the presence of a more of a rental that's going to come cheaper makes those players a little less likely to be dealt. Although, the Rangers, they're both ex-Rangers that I think that there's a world could be repatriated, that there would be a fit for one or, either or in that case. But I don't know if the price is going to get to a point where it makes sense for New York. And so, because it is seeming to be a buyer's market, if you're selling a player who has an extra year in their deal, you might be smarter to hang on to them and see if you can get a little bit more either in the offseason at next year's deadline, or maybe in Vetrano's case, quite honestly, I could see the Ducks making a move to extend him as of July 1st, just because he's had such a strong season. And, they are trying to keep some veterans around that team in addition to the young players they're bringing in. So, at this stage, I'd say unlikely either's moved, but, we still got, you guys aren't going to bed for like 30 hours. So there's still, there's still a lot of time for that to change.
That is sure true. One team that we haven't even mentioned yet is the Carolina Hurricanes. Are you shocked that they haven't made a move? And do you think that they absolutely need to? I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like my stance on the Hurricanes is that it seems like they've been a piece or two away for the last several years, and they haven't gotten over the hump. And the Eastern Conference this year seems extremely wide open and for the taking. So if Carolina doesn't do anything this year, that would be shocking to me.
Look, they do business their own way in Carolina.
I know they do, and I hate it. I knew that you were going to say that. And I know that's what everybody always says. And they don't like the rental thing. You know what else they probably don't fucking like? Is losing in the Eastern Conference Final every fucking year.
Well, not just losing for the same reasons. They don't always have scoring when it matters, right? I mean,
right.
And the kind of players that you could get if you were willing to rent is you could add it. Like Tyler Toffoli would be a perfect fit in my eyes for a team like the Hurricanes. It's just that they're not at this point in time willing to give up a first round pick for what would be a rental. And unless either the price comes down or they change their stance on that, I just don't see them getting those guys. It's funny. They're linked always to the top players, right? I mean, before the whole Elias Pettersson thing, where he got his extension in Vancouver, they were talking trade. They were in on Timo Meier last year before he ended up in New Jersey from San Jose. They certainly, I think that they're a well-run team. They've made a lot of smart decisions in that front office, but there is a limitation there. The sort of, I guess, what is it? What would you call that? That they don't want to take that big risk. Because it is patently dumb for a lot of teams to trade a first rounder for a rental. Like, I'm not going to deny that. Usually you get 25 games from that player, give or take. You go out in the first round, you're like, oh man, what do we do that for? Like, it's a bit of a false sugar rush sense of excitement in this window here at the deadline. And then by the end of the year, you might look at the decision, the totality of that decision and say, well, wasn't that smart? And so, yes, they're avoiding the dumb decision by doing it this way, but they're also maybe losing out on the home run, that could connect, because certainly players that fit that profile have been huge parts of teams that have gone on to win the cup. As recently as that Avalanche Cup a couple of years ago, they made a ton of moves in the lead up to that trade deadline, and those players were key members of the team that won. Some of them, like Arturi Lehkonen, actually stuck around and signed an extension. And so, I do feel like Carolina keeps itself out of. It's almost like it's in the safe band, right? They're not screwing up big, but then they're not hitting the home run as a result. But maybe that'll change. I don't get the sense. I think that they're even on, like, they're in on Gensel, but I don't sense that they're giving up first rounders in that trade if it ever comes to pass. I think it's a different kind of deal they're putting on the table, and ultimately will probably mean they don't win out in that bidding.
But they're always going to be there. They are the team.
The interest kings.
No, they're the team that jogs the marathon and never walks. So, like, it's impressive that they do a whole marathon without ever slowing down to walk. But God damn it, if you ever fucking see them sprint, they won't do it.
Talking marathon, guys. This is your guy.
I know. Yeah, shit. Well, Chris Johnston, always appreciate you, my friend. I'm sure you're probably going to have a more taxing next 30 hours than we are. Because
no way.
You actually have to do the job.
Yeah, like you're going to be working for 3 hours. You're going to be playing like knee hockey and shit.
Yeah, we've like wiggled our way into, like, I haven't reported something in like 40 years. Shit's easy, man. I just do a bad job. You actually have to do stuff.
That.
Yeah.
Well,
I would hate to be talented and like connected like you.
I plan to sleep from like at least 1 till 5. Like that's kind of the guaranteed window. Maybe I can get a little earlier to bed, but I mean,
Do you
I don't know
wake
what
up
you
in the
guys
middle
are
of the
be...
night and like in like a sweat and be like, fuck, did I miss anything?
No, but that was my first thought this morning. I wasn't in the middle of the night, but I got up at like 6:45. My first thought was, uh-oh, did I miss something? But I mean, look, the world keeps spinning if I missed a tweet.
I don't think so. I don't know.
I'm the furthest thing from an insider, and I'm always curious about that lifestyle. Like, how annoying do you feel in a week like this? I know it's your job, and I know you're good at it, but like, I feel like to be an insider, you have to be resigned to being annoying.
Yeah, I'm always at war with myself because, like, fundamentally, I'm the kind of person that likes to be liked. You know, I've never was like a pot stirrer. I mean, socially in my friend groups, like I like to be someone that people think fondly of, but I realize at this time, there's probably people looking at their phone like, that fucking Chris Johnston again. Like, what the hell? So you have to make peace with it. The way I did it once upon a time before I was maybe as established as I am now, I'm like, well, someone's going to do this if it isn't me. So why wouldn't it be me? Because I mean, I have no other skills. Like my last job was working at Wendy's before I did this. So I don't really have a fallback option. And so I just suck it up and be a pain in the ass for 2 weeks.
Hell yeah. All right. Who's going to ask him about the dynamic pricing situation?
Yeah, you heard about Wendy's dynamic pricing?
I have. I don't know how that's going to work, but
I don't think it's going to work. I think they're going to walk back that decision.
Do you know what? All you need to know to work there is white, red, green.
Explain.
You go you take the bun, you go mayonnaise, ketchup, pickles, and then you do onion, tomato, lettuce. And if you can do that over and over again, you draw a W with the mustard on the burger, and off you go.
Wow.
That's incredible.
That is the real insider information that we wanted.
Yeah. I can't wait to clip that and be like, Chris Johnston breaks down the trade deadline, and we're like asking you about Wendy's. The best. Well, you're a sweet man. We look forward to seeing your updates, and we'll learn much from you in the coming hours. Thank you, Chris Johnston.
Good luck at 2 a.m. tonight. You guys are insane.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
That's when we thrive, my friend.
Doing it all for the content. I love it.
Yes.
That's right.
All right. Appreciate you, buddy. Talk soon.
See you, boys.
Bye. Amazing.
I love him.
I mean, who else's head went to a dirty place where it was like, and then you do a W and you start to go through the alphabet.
Jesus. Yeah, paint
a
white W, and then you move on.
Yeah.
One of the deals that we should probably do hit our friends.
Oh yeah. We'll do a little ad read. We'll recap what we learned from Chris. I took down a few notes and then just fly through
I want to talk
stuff.
about the Colorado stuff because Colorado, I think, had the most fascinating day yesterday.
For sure. Sean, have you told? Okay. Prize Picks is our read today, and it's the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. I don't think I'm telling any tales out of school when I say that. The easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. I mean, how easy is that? How fun is that? Basketball season is heating up. The court, it gets hot this time of year. They say, ouch. They Dwight Schrute it. They say, give me the job.
They need to put some ice on the court.
Give me the job.
You know, the real reason that basketball arenas also host hockey games is so that you can cool down the court every once in a while because the court gets too hot.
Is that so?
Yeah.
So they put the ice there and they cool it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would be like Dwight Schrute.
Yeah, it'd be the floor is lava.
The floor is lava. You know who has a pretty easy time, though, when basketball season is heating up? Pam. Just fucking walks right over it. And then she goes over to Jim.
That's because she's like always going to St. Louis Blues games.
She's like, Jim, I was trying to fuck. What was that? Karen's like, hello, right here. So get in on the excitement with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. Serious cash. You can go to prizepicks.com/whatchaos and use code whatchaos for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/whatchaos and use code whatchaos. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy. Let's talk about Colorado.
But before that, just somebody in the chat had a good idea that we should have seen if CJ would give us a scoop. We should see if we could get a scoop from one of the insiders and break a trade, like the lowest level trade that you could possibly break. See if we can break it on the stream.
So I was wondering, I was going to ask you that before the show, like, if need be, could, I don't know if it would work, like try to dust off the old reporter's cap, work some sources, and be like, do we want to try to break a trade?
Yeah, I got you this phone. You got to work the phones. This is a very new, shiny phone that you need to work to get some scoops. I want to break a trade on the stream.
Here's what we can do. An exciting part of the trade deadline is so-and-so was not traded. When like their name is kind of like we might like maybe we get like a be a great for that would be like Jordan Eberle.
Yeah,
like
true.
It's like 3:06. Deadline's passed. Haven't heard anything, and like a reporter will tweet out like Jordan Eberle was not traded. And we're like, okay, we know that now.
We are on Phil Kessel contract watch
because he's expected to sign by tomorrow.
He has to sign by tomorrow
to be able to playoff eligible.
Yeah.
So. Actually, Chris reported that, right? That he's gonna sign by tomorrow.
I don't know.
I think so.
Here's my idea.
No, but I was gonna say, let me finish that thought.
Yeah,
we could do the so-and-so was not traded with so many guys. Sidney Crosby was not traded.
That's true.
Alexander Ovechkin was not traded.
I don't hate that idea.
Yeah.
I would like to break an actual trade if we can, just like an AHL trade.
Yeah.
It's just one trade. I'll take whatever we can get. Speaking of needing to sign a contract before the deadline to be playoff eligible, Chris mentioned Linus Ullmark back on the table. This thought crossed my mind last week. What if the Bruins traded Linus Ullmark and just signed Tuukka Rask? That would be the only way that I would be excited about a Linus Ullmark trade.
I completely agree. There's nobody else they could sign.
Fucking incredible.
Or like, what if they signed like the Leafs E-Bug guy, and they were like, he's now our backup. Yeah, he's now our backup goalie, and we can beat the Leafs in the first round with him.
I don't know. I think more likely Brandon Bussin makes me feel good. Is ready to take an NHL backup role. But man, I'd love to see Tuukka Rask signed for like half a season and be the sudden replacement for Linus Ullmark.
I'll tell you what, the last time Tuukka Rask was a backup goalie that's not true. But the one time Tuukka Rask was a backup goalie and the team won the cup.
That's true.
The next year they got knocked out in the first round when he was a backup goalie, but still, whatever.
So chat says you should do all of the not traded players.
That's what I'm saying.
We should put out an entire list of players that were not traded.
That's what I'm saying. Like Brad Marchand was not traded.
But like in its entirety, a list of every NHL player that was not traded.
We could do like credits. It would just scroll over the screen. Like the following players were not traded. We could
be able to like end stream like an hour early.
This would be very easy to do. Here's what we do. We just get every active player in the NHL, put it in a document. Every time somebody gets traded, we take them off the list. And then at the end of the show, or really at any point, we could say, let's check in with the players who are still available. And it just all scrolls through. Oh,
with the Star Wars, like
we sure have to do a still available list, and it's every player in the NHL
with the Star Wars. Like
Sean, how are we feeling?
Rolling,
good. It's so assuming that we're doing 23 players for each roster, even though some don't have full rosters. I guess it would be 736 players. Active players in the NHL at any given time. So
no problem.
I love this idea. We got nothing but time, pal. So I
wasn't saying that as like a bad thing. I'm just saying that's the number.
Here's what we would just need to do one thing of text that says still available, and then separately we would just have a scrolling thing. And what you could also do
is a great idea.
Put them all in a Word document, take that mouse over to the right. Do one of these. You know what that is?
No.
When you slowly, like, just move down the thing.
Oh, yeah. Sure. I did want to talk about Colorado because Colorado had a fascinating day yesterday. Obviously, the biggest concern for the Colorado Avalanche heading into the trade deadline was they needed a second-line center. They got that yesterday with Casey Mittelstadt, a guy that there was some light talk. I think when we
talked about him like 10 times.
Yeah,
in passing.
I know. We mentioned yesterday. Pete definitely said that he wanted to see Casey on the Avs. So
I said that like the night before, and then when that trade came through, I was like, "Holy shit, Casey Mittelstadt to the Avs! Who thought of that?
Seeing makes you feel good. You could see it. You could
No, but I didn't even I said it the day before, and I was shocked by the fact that it happened.
Yeah, because yesterday you were like, "Wait, did I say that?" You weren't out here looking for
Casey
credit,
Mittelstadt going in a hockey trade to the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for Bowen Byram, and immediately on the heels of the Avs trading for Sean Walker and sending Ryan Johansson to the Philadelphia Flyers with a first-round pick, and then the Flyers immediately waiving Ryan Johansson. So all of that is interesting to me, but ultimately it boils down to they traded Bowen Byram and Ryan Johansson in a first-round pick for Casey Mittelstadt and Sean Walker, which I think is a very tidy bit of work for the Colorado Avalanche.
I agree with that. And the Flyers in the process locking up Nick
Very
Seeler,
Canadian
so
of you.
he ends up being the defenseman that is chosen to remain there. Colorado probably doing the most NBA-ish movement I've seen, and that they're like, yeah, we'll send this guy out to get cut and whatever. That's
true.
This guy's just like out of sight, out of mind.
And I feel like the lateral moves are way more common in the NBA than they are in the NHL. Like Bowen Byram became expendable in Colorado. He's a really, really good young defenseman who has had trouble staying in the lineup, has had concussion issues. Obviously, that's concerning. But Bowen Byram is a tremendous defensive prospect, and he's still very young. What is he, 22 years old?
Yeah.
So, I really like that ad for Buffalo, who now has Erasmus Dahlin, Owen Power, and Bowen Byram, and Matthias Samuelsson, if you want to throw him in the mix there.
Their oldest defenseman right now is
it Connor Clifton or Eric Johnston?
No, I was going to say,
yeah.
it's got to be that crybaby.
their core. They have 5 or 6 defensemen who are 25 or younger. It's pretty.
So,
insane.
their defense core could be awesome for years and years and years, but he became expendable, and I do like the lateral move of going out and getting Sean Walker to eat Bowen Byram's minutes, because Sean Walker is a really, really good defenseman who can slot in, and you're not losing much there, but you are gaining a whole lot for Casey Mittelstadt in exchange for Ryan Johansson. Ryan Johansson was a failed experiment for the Colorado Avalanche. Beyond his play on the ice, there are rumors that the guys didn't like him, and
I've never heard that rumor about.
I've never heard that rumor about Ryan Johansson.
Career.
It's like the worst kept secret in the league.
We're efforting getting Chris Johnston back on to ask him if there's any truth to the fact that Ryan Johansson has had any issues at his various stops. I can't think truly. I like what Colorado has done. I love what Vegas has done. I love while we're saying called it, talked about Adam Henrique to the Oilers. That ends up happening.
That was more obvious.
Exact deal I had said they might do.
Except that other people's couple parts were not matching up.
The pieces weren't the same, but it was the exact deal.
Yeah.
So that we were able to nail that down. We're really killing it. Is there any move other than everything Toronto has done where you've said, why did you do that? Why did you get that guy?
No, not really.
Same.
I
like what the Panthers have done. I like what
my biggest shrug outside of Toronto was Wenberg to the Rangers, and I think that was maybe a little bit of an overpay. But I also think that I don't think that the Rangers are valuing Wenberg as their big splash, and with that, I think he's a good player to be your third line center. He's pretty defensively minded. One of those guys that doesn't blow your dick off when you acquire him at the trade deadline, but ends up being a really important piece for your bottom 6 if you're trying to make a playoff run. So I don't hate that deal. And even if you overpaid for him a little bit, if he ends up being a difference maker for your team in a stretch run, it's good work.
Let's talk about the Bruins, because Chris Johnston mentioned the stuff with that hypothetical 3-team trade, which it's not as crazy as I think it's important what he said about it's an incomplete version of what's been discussed, but it's clearly been discussed because we've heard it from Kevin Weeks. We've heard it from Pierre LeBrun, mentioned it kind of in passing in one of his tweets. Chris Johnston didn't tell us to shut the fuck up when we brought it up. The idea of this 3-team move that would send Gensel to the Canucks, DeBrusk to the Penguins, and Lindholm to Boston would be amazing for the Bruins. it's just they would have to. I think they would have to give up so much more that I don't know they really have in order to make it worth Pittsburgh's while. I get what Chris was saying about maybe they would get Jake DeBrusk and sign him, but just trading out an inconsistent wing for a center you're probably going to lock up immediately is just such a steal for Boston.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think no matter what, the Bruins are probably going to come away from that deal lucking out because, Lindholm being flipped, you're going to get less for him coming back in return. Jake DeBrusk is expendable for the Bruins. But, the more that Chris was talking about it, I get it. If you're going to put DeBrusk next to Sidney Crosby, you're banking on kind of reaching a new level of Jake DeBrusk that hasn't been seen before. And with the contract extension that would come with that, you'd get a deal. You get a deal for Jake DeBrusk, assuming that you're going to reach a new level with him. And based off what we've heard from the Pittsburgh Penguins is that they want to get younger. They want to kind of solidify where they're heading.
It's so hard for the Penguins to get younger right now.
That's true.
It's not like literally any trade they made would make them younger.
Literally, they put Jaromir Jagr with their team, and it was like, this makes sense.
They go out and get Markstrom, who, when we talk about, we're like, yeah, he's kind of old. He would be their second youngest player.
I mean, it's crazy that Jeff Carter still plays for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
It's not.
It's crazy.
It's not. And another thing that I laughed when you were talking about the Hurricanes, where everything you said about the Hurricanes was correct, and then you ended it with, I know it's just a turn of phrase, or an expression, but you said, if they don't do anything, I would be shocked. You would be appalled. You would not be shocked.
Fair, yes.
You would not be at all surprised
very,
if
very
those
fair.
fucking cowards.
Seriously. I understand, we're not going to pay a premium for rentals. Sure. But when you're so close to getting over the hump, fucking go out and get the rentals. And if you want to extend them. But they're managing their team like fucking cowards. Absolute fucking cowards. And I would be so mad if I was a Carolina Hurricanes fan if they come away from this deadline not doing much. I'd be so mad.
You know why? Sleeping makes them feel good. This is their sleepy time. They are the opposite of us at the trade deadline. We stay awake none of us use drugs, so we're going to be staying awake naturally. Those guys, right to sleep.
And there's always an identifiable fit where you're like, man, this guy would be so awesome with the Carolina Hurricanes, would be such a good fit. Last year, for me, it was Ryan O'Reilly. O'Reilly going to the Hurricanes, they needed some center help, needed a little bit more offense. And as a team that, has failed to get over the hump of the playoffs, you could go out and get a Conn Smythe winner in Ryan O'Reilly. I would have fucking loved it so much. And then this year, I think it is a Jake Gensel. It is a Tyler Toffoli. They need the scoring help. You need a guy who's going to come up with timely goals in the playoffs. Obviously, you could go out and get a goaltender if you really wanted to. They're going to end up doing nothing, and I'm going to freak out, even though I don't care what happens to them.
So, two things. One, remind me to say the cat's out of the bag after I finish this thought. I think the reason you're so very entertainingly passionate about the Hurricanes, I'm taking mental notes, be like, whenever we have a lull, ask Pete a question about the Hurricanes because he's fucking bringing it. But I think where you're coming from is, if I have to talk about this fucking team that I don't like, make it worth my while. Is that it?
It's not even that I don't dislike the Hurricanes.
Oh, you hate them.
I don't. I just like their fan base sometimes.
Little bit, you dislike them.
Fan base is one of the most sensitive fan bases in all of hockey. The Carolina Hurricanes. They show up and they care, and they're very, very passionate. But fucking chill out, man. Not everybody hates you as much as you think that everybody hates you. As I just said that I kind of hate them. It's seeing a team. It's the insanity thing. Seeing a team make the same mistake over and over and over again. A team that's so close. The Carolina Hurricanes are so close. They're probably a move or two away from solidifying themselves as a team that gets to the Stanley Cup final and makes a real run at it. And they're so just fucking entrenched in their own line of thought, which is that we're not making short-term deals. even if it's the deal that gets them over the hump.
On the cat being out of the bag, we know at this point that it is not costly to go out and get impact players. We know from what Vegas has done. We know from what Florida has done. You don't have to spend an absolute ton to go out and get somebody. Carolina has their first round pick the next 3 years. They have their second round pick the next 3 years, except for this year in which they have 2 second round picks. They have their third round pick the next 2 years, fourth of that. They are overflowing with draft picks, which isn't a surprise because they don't trade them. The combination of having all the assets and prices being low equaling not shopping is crazy.
And
the things you need are on sale, and you have more money than everybody else.
True. And like on the other side of that too, like nobody's saying you have to go out and get a rental. You can, like, what if the Carolina Hurricanes went out and got Frank Vetrano? What if the Carolina Hurricanes made a play for Pavel Buchnevich? Like, either one of those guys would move the needle so much for that team in terms of their scoring.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying, like, it's, and again, like, there's time and they're linked to everybody, but we've seen this story before. They're always linked to everybody, and they always finish second or third, and they never get the guy. They're the opposite of the Vegas Golden Knights.
Sean, we were talking about teams that we discuss like a lot and a little.
Yeah.
How the fuck had we not met Hurricane Pete yet? Hurricane Pete is you got some fucking teeth, brother.
Well, because they're the same team that they've been for the past 2
They
years.
don't do anything
I've
enough.
expended all my takes in previous years. Like, I've had the same take around the Hurricanes for so long.
I feel like the only reason we didn't bring them up is because we've had a player on.
Biased.
If we
We're in
hadn't
bed
had-
with them.
Well, not just biased, but it's hard to say that they're the team that we talk about the least if we have.
In
Like,
fairness,
we haven't had any Tampa Bay Lightning on the show.
in fairness, when we have players on the show, we don't really talk about their team with them.
That is true.
So
Yeah. They haven't really changed their position in the Eastern Conference in a long time.
I feel like we've done a lot of thought they'd be better, then kind of moved on.
With the Carolina Hurricanes?
Yeah.
They're a good team. Like, they're a good team that's not getting very good goaltending.
Yeah.
So, like, if they could go out and get a goaltender, that would move the needle too. But I also would like to see them get some scoring, because that's what has really kind of fucked them several times in the playoffs. Is they run out of offense.
You know what else I would like?
A like spike.
Give it to me.
That's right. Like spike time, everybody. We got a good amount of people in here, so want to see those likes ascend. 3, 2, 1. It's like spike time. Whoa, I didn't know that we had sound effects. Nice. So we got natural sound effects and we've got digital sound effects. Like spikes
Sean,
going
play,
up.
play the.
Cut my penis.
There we go.
Nice.
Spike the penis.
Yeah.
Spike the penis.
Do we got a lot of likes out of it, Sean? How are our numbers looking? Healthy?
It takes a second for the.
Oh,
Whoa,
we're climbing now. I see those.
we're
That was a
moving.
big jump.
We're moving.
I love that. So,
We got a lot of participants today, by the way.
Oh, hell yeah.
I think they're waiting for
The 24-hour
They're waiting
stream.
for the craziness.
Yeah, so if you're unfamiliar with the like spike, just hit the thumbs up button that is on the YouTube video right now, and it helps us out. I'm not really sure how it helps us out, but anytime you can get a thumbs up, I'll take it.
General thing for the show tonight, the live stream, we're going to be using multiple sets. This will not be our primary set for the 24-hour live stream. We're going to have a special trade deadline set. We will come over here probably to hang out, to watch games.
This is our downtime.
This is our chill zone set.
downtime.
Yeah, we're still working on having a trade zone.
Mm-hmm.
I really want there to be a trade zone where we have like a trade update person.
It's I envision the trade zone being like those NHL Network interviews where they're recorded from the Jumbotron, and it's the most awkward angle you've ever seen.
And they're looking up.
They're looking up
Hi.
like you're in the first row of a movie theater.
Yeah, we just put the camera way up there.
Yeah.
Be like,
They need to stop doing that. I hate that shit. It is the most awkward interview format ever.
and no offense to anyone who has done this, a lot of people who have done those appearances then make that their Twitter avatar.
Don't do that.
Not flattering.
No, don't do that.
It's-
It's like that woman who goes to Anaheim Ducks games and holds up the sign and just like looks up into the rafters for some reason in every picture.
Maybe that's the person who's taking the picture. Maybe they're like,
"Where's the camera?
Up here.
Where's the camera?"
Don't bring signs to games that are mean to people.
Especially if you're like 30 plus years old.
Hey, don't do if you're a Pete just said grown man, Sean. That's that's like the derogatory use.
Yeah, but I agree. If you're a kid, you can do whatever you want. And if you're a grown man that gets hurt by something a kid's saying, then you're not much of a grown man, in my opinion.
I was told to ask you about your wave behavior because when I mentioned the guy who was trying to do the wave at the 1-0 Oilers Bruins game, someone said, "Hey, you know what? You got to look around your own house because you got someone who does the wave."
Yeah, I'm not like no matter what anti-wave, but I am certainly against the wave in a 1-0 hockey game. Like that trying to do the wave in that moment was outrageous. In a baseball game when it's like the 7th inning and a team's losing 5-1, fucking do the wave. I don't give a shit.
The wave is a baseball thing.
Yeah, but don't do it in a
baseball has so much downtime.
Yeah, don't do it in an arena immediately after your team scored the first goal of the game in the 3rd period. That's outrageous.
I don't know if I've ever seen the wave at. I've seen.
I've seen people try to do it at hockey games.
I've seen them do it. I saw them do it against when I was at the Canadiens game. But like at this moment, he was doing it A, immediately after the Bruins had scored, and B, around like a sizable portion of Oilers fans, and so everyone was just like, "We're not doing this."
Somebody asks, "Can we bring a sign that's mean to Pete?"
Yes.
No.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Absolutely. I think any sign that addresses what chaos at a hockey game is a good sign, regardless if it's like
no such thing as
DJ
bad
sucks,
publicity.
Pete sucks. I'm fine with it.
But that's anti what chaos, where like the ultimate hockey is for everyone and positive, like be nice to each other.
No, it's for everyone, including haters.
But it's
including haters.
But it's like a chirp thing. Like
it's like you got to look at it from a WWE perspective. Like you got to look at it from a WWE perspective. Like everyone has signs. Some of them are negative, but it's all part of the part of the experience.
It's part of the world.
Yeah, I want signs that teach me. All I ever want to do, if I'm online, I'm reading about stuff, I'm learning about stuff, and not necessarily in the smartest way, but like I just want more and more information. If you bring a sign to a hockey game, to have it tell me something I didn't already know. Be like I don't know, like give me the inflation rate between like here and
put up
Croatia.
A sign that just says
informational
Jake
sign?
Gensel was born in Omaha, Nebraska.
Yes, like shit like that.
That actually would be really fun.
Signs
just
at
signs that
that's what I'm saying.
Don't take
if you bring a
opinion
sign,
at all.
have it say something that. You know what I learned at the hockey game is that Mason Lohrei is the first Louisiana-born NHL player. You saw that on a sign? What did it say? It said Mason Lohrei is the first Louisiana-born.
What
NHL
if you just
player.
brought a sign and it was just like somebody's hockey DB page, and you just hold up this sign with their hockey DB page, and it just tells you their biographical and statistical information?
I was thinking of doing. We'll probably end up having to do it to kill time, making some tribute videos for players who are traded.
Yeah,
and I was considering making the audio for it. You just singing what they did there, so you would just have to like sing like 2015, 2016, 58 games played, and it's just all information.
I was thinking about doing that with like ASMR, like just like describing highlights or describing
ASMR
like
could put people to sleep though.
That's kind of the point. Like if you're watching the stream at like 3 a.m. and like they fall asleep with it, we still get the view.
We get that cash.
Exactly.
That
we still get the view.
Okay.
I think like late in the night, we try to make people fall asleep so that we get concurrent views for a long time. I was going to say somebody in the chat.
So great example. Sorry. Sign about Dick Richards getting fired from go to a hockey game and says, did you know that Steven Spielberg was not the original director of Jaws? He replaced a guy named Dick Richards who got fired for repeatedly referring to the shark as a whale. That's what you got to bring to a hockey game.
Yeah. Sean, scroll up for me. There was a comment that was exactly what I was thinking of. The wave discourse. The wave at a hockey game should be reserved for like when it has been a horrible night for the home team. There's nothing going right, and you're just getting your fucking ass kicked. And then like the fans trying to get morale up by just like doing the wave and having a good time.
No, I disagree. I look at it the other way. You should only be doing it if you're kicking someone's ass. Because if I am watching my team get their ass beat and I see people being like, "One, go fuck yourself."
No, like the worst look. If your team is putting on an impressive performance and you're like, you know what I ought to do? Stand up just a second before he stands up.
I disagree. If it was like if I was in Colorado, no, the game in Colorado last night or Detroit? It was in Colorado.
It was in
right?
Colorado.
Yeah, if I was in Colorado and it was 7-2, fucking let's do the wave. Let's rub it in. Because if I'm a Detroit Red Wing and I'm sitting on the bench and I'm watching all these fans just being like, I don't even give a shit what's happening on the ice anymore. It's over.
I'm on board with that, but I'm also on board with like, hey, this night sucks anyway. We may as well have some fun.
Yeah,
like let's do the wave.
I would be miserable in that moment.
Shout out Daki in the in the chat says, what about riddle posters? I will accept riddle posters.
Yeah. It's got to be a good riddle though.
Yeah. What has 2 thumbs and is holding the first riddle poster ever? This guy. Yeah, do that. There's a lot. I like that people are getting in on the idea of signs being positive. I feel like that was mostly well received, so I'll take that. Yeah, I said either on or off the show during this 24-hour stream, we either have to constantly pay each other compliments or someone recommended this to me from the Bear.
Mm-hmm.
You know this?
Yeah, it's like, hey, you got to settle
We'll
down.
talk about it later.
No, you'll talk about it later.
Like, this is I'm sorry, but we can't have this conversation right now. So
yeah,
we'll talk about it.
if like you say something snippy and I do this and you take it as you need to settle down, you'd fucking blow your top.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is like,
it's kind of like we both need to
table
settle
this.
down.
Let's table this.
Yeah.
Like take it as valid, whatever. We'll do it later.
We do need to do a slate grade. There are 12 games tonight.
12 games, and they're all at 7. They're fucking all at 7. 7 p.m. Leafs at Bruins. 7 p.m. Oilers at Blue Jackets. 7 p.m. Flames at Lightning. 7
Before
p.m.
you get into any deeper, we have a sponsor for slate grade.
Yes. Slate Grade presented by Game Time, because when you want to know when the game time is, we will tell you the time. It's
all at
7 p.m.
Yeah.
7 p.m.
Game Time. Use promo code CHAOS to get $20 off. So
7 p.m. Leafs at Bruins, 7 p.m. Oilers at Blue Jackets, 7 p.m. Flames at Lightning, 7 p.m. Flyers at Panthers, 7 p.m. Blues at Devils, 7 p.m. Capitals at Penguins, 7 p.m. Canadiens at Hurricanes, 8 p.m. Sabres at Predators, 9 p.m. Wild at Coyotes, 10 p.m. Canucks at Golden Knights, 10:30 p.m. Senators at Kings, 10:30 p.m. Islanders at Sharks. Horrible structure.
I love the Islanders at Sharks game because we are going to be watching it.
That's our last game.
Why do you love
Senators
that?
at Kings,
Because that's hilarious.
Senators at Kings
not
or
hilarious. That
Islanders at
sucks.
Sharks. We're gonna be watching these games. We got a bunch of TVs. We'll be keeping an eye on them, discussing them, breaking down trades, suggesting trades, the whole thing. What we should do during every game we watch, we should make a trade between those two teams.
like a hypothetical trade?
Yeah. So like Flames at Lightning. All right, Stamkos to the Flames. What's it going to cost?
Honestly, too many 7 o'clock games would love a 7:30 or an 8:30 or a 9:30 mixed in there somewhere.
One more 9 would have gone a long way.
Yeah, especially when then one 9 o'clock game is Wild at Coyotes. Cool story, bro.
Banger.
Can I begin the 24-hour stream already asleep from us just suggesting that those two teams are going to play?
I do kind of like that. The games that we're absolutely going to have to watch are teams that we never fucking talk about. So
that's how the Islanders Sharks is fun. Islanders Sharks is fun. It's the worst game of all time.
We are going to play a game during each game called Name One Player. And it's like we're watching the game, looking at the teams, and quick, Pete.
Name one player from the Minnesota Wild not named Kirill Kaprizov.
Name one player in this game. Oh, my God.
Name a player on the Minnesota Wild who scored more than a single point since Connor Bedard has returned from injury. It's basically everyone not named Brock Faber.
That's amazing.
Amazing. Yeah, we're all going to be here at 5:30 p.m. I'm going to give this grade, by the way, this slate. I don't like its structure. It's got 7 games at 7. I'd like it spread out a little bit. Could really use a midnighter.
That would be incredible. Yeah, we need like some sort of power outage at an arena. Something to happen to delay a game to like an 11:30 start.
We could also just watch, like tape a game, quote unquote tape a game, which means at 1 a.m. we'll just hit play on ESPN Plus on an earlier game.
Could you imagine just being like,
live hockey?
Can't sleep tonight. Gonna throw on YouTube, and then it's 3 a.m. Eastern, and someone's watching like Sharks Islanders for no reason.
It would be
can't
that's a
imagine
10:30 game. We should be watching like who's the guy who the Sabres playing?
The Preds.
Sabres Preds at 1:30 a.m.
I have another good idea.
You know, Elliot always like when Sportsnet has a game, he'll always tweet out like, "Flames Oilers coverage begins on Sportsnet in 5 minutes." At like 1:45 a.m., we should be like, "Buffalo Nashville coverage begins in 5 minutes."
Yep.
That would be so mean. Just because, and I would have to wait to watch the Buffalo Sabres.
We
You
could
could just watch them for a second time.
I guess so.
So there's many things we could do. We could do like radio calls of past games. So midnight, we'll say we're firing up Flames at Lightning. We're going to watch it. We can't show it to you guys.
Just do play-by-play?
We'll do a radio call. Another possibility that I like that would make us go insane. 10:30 p.m., we watch Islanders at Sharks.
That makes me go insane.
As soon as Islanders at Sharks ends, we watch Islanders at Sharks again. The only stream that watches a game twice in a row.
It's like when movie people are like, "Oh, so much better on the second watch. You pick up things that you missed the first time around."
You know what?
Islanders Sharks was so much better on the second viewing. You really pick up on the
Mackenzie
details
Blackwood
of the storytelling.
Yeah, just gave a lot more care to that performance than I thought the first time around.
I love the idea of just watching BU Providence. Just be like, no NHL games. We're watching college hockey.
This is going to be a very fun stream. I'm very excited about it.
Celtics Nuggets are tonight as well. Like that is the best game that's on tonight. We just watch basketball instead.
I could be convinced. I don't know, Jim. If you are listening to this on podcast platforms, maybe okay. Listening to this on podcast platforms, maybe on your way home from work, U.S. time. Like we're probably live on YouTube right now in the beginning stages of our 24-hour stream.
This is not going to be available as an audio. It's 24-hour stream.
24-hour stream is YouTube exclusive. It's the only place you're going to get it. So head to our YouTube page, and when you're there, please hit the subscribe button. YouTube.com/@WhatChaosShow. Please, we want to continue. We hit 4,000 to trigger the 24-hour stream. But the purpose of the 24-hour stream is to also continue to give our YouTube page momentum. So please, if you haven't gone there and liked and subscribed all of our videos and subscribed to the channel, please do it. Let's keep those numbers going. Plus, I already committed to doing a 25-hour marbles stream in the offseason if we hit 10,000 YouTube subs by the end of the playoffs. So you can get a head start on that if you want to see a 25-hour marbles stream. So go to our YouTube page. Please subscribe.
We all silly like the mayor.